Dan Strasser.
Here.
Jennifer Hammond.
Here.
Dr. Dan McCullough.
McDonough, but I'm here.
Mick Downer, sorry. Darby Self.
Here.
All present.
Thank you. This will be the first meeting in a while that we do not have to go through the actual roll call on all of our votes. We'll just say yay and nay, and I'll decide who actually won. I'm kidding there. All right. The minutes are in tab 1, and if you want to take a few minutes to look at them and see whether or not there are any corrections, deletions, or additions that need to be. I looked through them very briefly, and not really briefly because it's pretty long, but I did not see anything, and I'm sure that Jake and Yancey have gone over them. I will accept a motion for the approval of the minutes.
So moved.
I have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Jennifer, we run this thing like a train, okay? I want you to know that. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we will go to the fiscal 2025 year-end overview, which will be Petra, my favorite person to come forward. Petra, I'm really gonna miss asking you some questions.
Well, you're more than welcome to still ask. I don't mind that at all. I do not mind at all.
Or you can text
Okay,
questions to
okay.
any of us.
Well, I may show up anyway, just
right.
to say, from the peanut gallery, can I ask a question?
You certainly can. You certainly can. So I don't mind that at all.
I'll turn it over to you, Petra.
All right, well, fiscal year 2025 has been a challenge for us, but we're glad to have it in our rearview mirror. Just this week, we learned that they closed the books, and that is very unusual for us because it's usually an August close. But we are that was the first year-end close in the new accounting system that we have. We implemented Oracle, we call it Dash, in January of 2025, and so we were trying to close the year in 2 different accounting systems. So we were able to get through that, a lot of lessons learned, and we are now really fully working with 2026. So with that said, one of the things that we learned, and we are still trying to grapple with and find a better way of managing the budget aspect of it and updating changes and having those things done. But as you will see, largely the influx of dollars have been managed and budgeted to the best of our ability. There was somewhat of a shortfall on our budgeted tuition and fees. The difference on our state appropriation was largely tied to the funding that came in for fee waivers, and the sales and services actually exceeded the budgeted amount that we had. Overall, we were right at $800,000 in our E&G revenue. Now, auxiliary had a bigger fluctuation than budgeted. Again, that was one of the areas that we did not have the budget updated as well, but fortunately, there was more revenue generated than we had initially anticipated. So overall, we had a $6.2 million surplus on the revenue side.
Yeah, may I ask an elementary question I probably have asked for? Grants and contracts.
So the grants and contracts that we have reflected in our education and general budget really only reflect the indirect cost or the administrative F&A portion of the grants. The other part is managed in the restricted funds.
Okay.
And we do not, it's not a part of our operating budget because of the restricted use of those funds.
Okay,
So this grants and contracts number only reflects the amount of the administrative cost that's generated.
Most grants have a 5% or something like that go toward the administration, so
Yeah.
that's what this would represent.
That represents that part that
Okay.
helps support the administration of the grants.
Just want to be sure
Yeah.
about that in my mind. Thank you.
There's significantly more grants and contracts than 358,000.
Yes.
What are the leading factors in the tuition and fees, the shortfall, operating expenses?
It is largely contributed to our summer school. Sometimes we don't really know what that enrollment is gonna be, and we did not adjust the revenue based on enrollment, because at that point, we were far enough in the fiscal year where we weren't able to make adjustments to the budget. So on the expenditure side, the largest surplus actually falls into the functional area of instruction. I suspect the largest reason that there was a surplus there is because we were in DASH, the new system. People weren't really sure what they had available and somewhat afraid to spend money. And so we are getting more reports out, doing more training, and hopefully the campus is more comfortable with running reports and getting the information that they need so that they know what's available. The other fluctuation was in student services, and that shortfall there is largely related to athletics. The auxiliary operations also shows a shortfall, but if you recall on the previous slide, they had a surplus on the revenue. So they're a self-supporting unit, and therefore the revenues must equal or exceed the amount that's for the expenditures. So overall, we also had an adjustment for transfers, that has also taken on a different way that we budget for those. And we weren't able to we had initially made a budget, we had a budget for the transfers, but we're not able to make the adjustment of what actually happened. So we're working through that process and trying to determine a better way of doing that part. So when you net the two of the revenue and the expenditures, we were pretty close overall when you look at the actuals. Our revenues were $141 million, and our expenses were $141 million, with just at $175,000 revenue over budget. So we came in pretty close, although the budgeting part of it needed to make some adjustments. Are there any questions?
The term DASH, I understand, has not necessarily meant faster.
So DASH has,
How is that working out, or what do you think about the new system?
we have a lot of opportunities with the new system. Some things
I understand
are
that
working
word.
well, and some things have challenges. Reporting is a big piece of it. Functionality of it works. It's just the reporting and getting the information out of it is a little more challenging. However, the system has a roadmap of some of the things that they need that they've heard from the campuses, and they're trying to work through and impact the masses with a lot of the things. So they have consultants that they're working with, and they have kind of a clear path of what are the things that they want to get done between now and say June. And then they have some things in the queue that will happen after that. We've had some challenges with it. The campus knows that they felt it in more areas than just the financial books of it. We had some problems with payroll things, but we're working through that and trying to get better at the input so that it doesn't cause problems.
Are there other questions? Petra, do you think it would be appropriate for the secretary to put in there that at my last tenure, we came in well over budget and revenue and made a profit?
I believe that would be appropriate. All right, thank you all.
Jake, do we accept her report? Okay, it's just a report to us, okay. Thank you, Petra. All right, the next item is the enrollment and retention data from Dr. Destin Tucker.
Okay,
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. I'm excited to report on our spring 2026 enrollment, look a little bit at our retention and persistence data, and then give a glimpse into where we're tracking for fall of 2026. So I'm pleased to report we exceeded our goal for spring of 2026. I want to start with a caveat. I had to pull this data a little early for you all, given the timing of our meeting. So it was pulled a little bit before our census day and prior to our drop for non-payment. But we still are exceeding our goal. The numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit, though, when we release those official numbers, probably sometime next week, depending on when we can get all of those things cleaned up. But our spring enrollment goal was based on a 5% increase over last spring. And so we landed probably around the 7550 number, which up here it says 7.19%, which will be about 6.2%, I think, when it's all said and done. And so, of course, we're pleased to have exceeded that overall enrollment goal. We do have some work to do in some of our student categories, which I'll talk a little bit more about. But overall, the progress towards that goal of 10,000 students is very positive. So looking at some of those subpopulations, our returning undergraduate students and our dual enrollment students are definitely carrying our enrollment growth this spring. Both categories are up about 300 students each, and so we're really proud of the work that's being done on retaining our current returning students, as well as just continuing to expand our dual enrollment offerings. Where we have some work to do is on the transfer side and on the graduate side. Those percentages look pretty large. The ends are much smaller maybe than the percentages look, but transfers were down about 20 students. And then the graduate, you saw the decline in overall graduate students on the first slide. It was really mostly in that new student category. We saw a dip in new graduate students this spring. We've changed some operational side of the graduate application. We implemented a new application last spring. I think I talked to y'all probably about that last winter. We've centralized some of those operations, and so I think that hard work will pay off. Right now, we're really ahead for the fall in terms of graduate applications, but we were up leading into the spring semester too at the beginning of December, and then everything kind of just came to a halt. So I don't know if we were just earlier in getting some of those applications processed, given the efficiency of the new processes, but for now, things are looking really strong, really in both categories, which I'll talk about new student enrollment in a minute, for fall.
Justin,
Yes.
I'm old school. I would think that once I graduate, I get the heck out of Dodge. So what are first-time graduates that expect to come back? Or am I missing something?
Yeah, so those are our brand-new graduate students, first semester graduate students.
They're graduate
Yes.
students. They're not
Yes.
graduates.
Yes, I
Okay,
should make that
graduate
more clear. And
students.
so our
Okay.
total graduate
Okay.
students are here, and then the first-time, brand-new graduate students are here. So
Okay.
where we were down in the
Okay.
new graduate
Okay.
students. Yes, good question. Any other questions about those data points?
When I went to school, when you graduated, you went and got a job.
Well, we're trying to keep them here now. I'll tell you more about that. But we wanted to graduate and then continue pursuing other degrees. All right, so when we talk about persistence and retention, persistence is really that fall to spring. Where they're here in the fall, do they come back in the spring? And the retention, we look at fall to fall. And so I put this chart up there, and this is something Dr. Brad Gardner has probably shown you before. But for all of our history, when the fall to spring persistence has been up, our fall to fall retention has been up until this past year. So we did see a slight dip in our retention rate. Because there were some other factors and things that we are working through right now, but we had a lot of our loss in retention, which was still really strong. 77% was the highest rate we ever had. So we just dipped a little bit after that. But some of our loss in retention was with our better performing students and better prepared students. So we're working through some of those now to try to figure out what happened and how can we sort of triage some of that now, because so much of our focus has been on students maybe whose midterm grades are low. We try to get in there and get with them, but clearly there's some other things going on with students, and so truly trying to be persistent with them. And so for this fall to spring retention or persistence rate is right in line with where we were last year. And so we don't know what that means for our fall to fall retention. We're certainly working really hard to make sure that we're going to meet our goal there. Our goal for the fall and retention is getting back to 76%. We implemented a lot of different initiatives, of course, to try and increase, maintain our persistence and retention rates. One of those that have had some success is we offered bridge grants to students, first-year students from fall 24, who lost their scholarships, their merit scholarships. We gave them a bridge scholarship if they would come back in fall 2025. It was only $250, with the promise of if they bring their GPA back up to a 2.75, they could regain that scholarship automatically. And so we did that as an effort to try to get those students, back. And now this spring, we were able to return 15 of those full scholarships back to those students. So they have this spring to get it back or next fall to give it back. So a lot of things are happening with our retention rates overall, and a lot of initiatives happening there. Our overall persistence and retention rate continues to have that positive correlation between fall to spring and fall to fall numbers. And so we're looking really strong with our fall to spring persistence. Any questions? All right, so looking at fall 2026, Chairman Sparks, you're going to be glad to know that we have increased our goal since I was last here in September. In September, we're celebrating an 8% increase over last fall, and we were still reporting the same goal for fall of 2026, which was 8,348. But we re-looked at our enrollment model to see where we needed to make adjustments. And so we did that. This reflects our updated enrollment growth model. So our goal for fall of 2026 and overall enrollment is 8,487 students. That reflects a 3.5% increase in first-year students and dual enrollment students, a 5% increase in transfer and readmit students, and a 7% increase in new graduate students.
On retention, how do we compare with other universities this size? Are we in the ballpark, better, lower? Or?
We are, yeah. We are at or above the averages for our even our aspirational peers in all of those categories. So we perform really well. We want to do better. We
Right.
certainly are working to do better, but we do really well in those categories. Yes.
We're primarily losing, I'm guessing, transferring, you're staying with the college career with transferring.
Yes, some of them are transferring. Sometimes we don't always know. We try to, I know Dr. Baumgartner's team will ask when students say they're not coming back, what are your plans? Some of them say, I want to be closer to home. That's probably the most common. Sometimes it's financial reasons. Maybe they've lost their scholarships or, their Hope Scholarship, those kinds of things. So it's really a variety of reasons. I think what was just so alarming to us last year is that students who did well, so some of those, not a ton of them, but more than usual, still left. And so we know there's some other issues. There were some housing constraints last year. Some of them were working through those challenges, and family. There's all kinds of things that have always come up, but we don't have the data on all of that. But we try to track as much as we can.
Is there any data that shows in times of accelerated growth you're going to have a fall off in retention?
Yes, I think as we get more students, that is potentially.
I only have as a salesman point of view. If you get a lot of new sales, the next year you usually lose a higher percentage of those if the percentage of sales had gone up dramatically. And I wondered if it was the same correlation.
Yes, especially when we've got the same, staff, and so as we work to build out more infrastructure, sometimes it may lag a little bit in trying to keep up with the retention rates that we've had in the past. That's a very good point. We have increased our first-year class about 8% 2 years in a row, and so it's a pretty significant number, more students that we're trying to retain. Looking at some of those first-year categories, right now for fall of 2026, we have a 3% increase in our in-state admitted students, and so that is looking positive for the fall. We are flat in our overall admitted students. We're down in out-of-state. I don't know if you remember last year, I talked about how we implemented the common application, and it really blew up our out-of-state applicants, and that sort of settled. We didn't get a lot of those. They were just applicants. So this kind of settled out this year a little bit better. And so we are flat overall, but we're really focusing on that in-state number because they yield much higher. So we are up there. there's a couple of new initiatives that we're part of. The Tennessee Direct Admission Program is a new initiative in the state. It's a pilot program that is using, when students apply for the Tennessee Promise Scholarship, it is using their information to offer them direct admission to Tennessee four-year and community colleges that they meet the admissions criteria for. And so the THEC was, asking us if we wanted to participate. We were, unsure about the way it would work, but we ultimately opted into it, as did most of the 4 years in the state. UT Knoxville did not, but I believe all of the other ones did. And so there's been a little bit of growing pains with that, with any new program, but, in November, they got the information from the students when that was the Tennessee Promise, deadline, and then they communicated back to the students which institutions would offer them, direct guaranteed admission. And then following that, we received a list of those students, that, said, yes, I'm interested in UT Martin. We were really unsure what that would look like. We get a lot of applications for Tennessee students, so we weren't honestly expecting to see a lot of new applicants to UTM, but out of the 360 or so applicants we received from this program, 218 were new applicants to us, and so we'll be tracking how they matriculate, through our funnel, but we were pleased to have that many just as a pilot program. So I'm not sure if TEC will continue that program. I guess we'll see how it goes this year. And then something that we have participated in for several years is the UT Access Collaborative. And so that is working with UT Knoxville for students that are on their wait list or are denied, but who meet our admissions criteria, to offer them a place to go for a year if they'd like to. UT Chattanooga, UT Southern participates in this as well. Offer them a place to go for a year, and then they can transfer back if they meet certain criteria and want to do that. And so we, I believe, have around 12 students on campus this year. Last year we had 5, and the year before we had 6. We don't get a lot of those students, but we do participate. Chattanooga gets a lot more, of course, than we do being in closer proximity. But a lot of those students stay at UT Martin. They're definitely not all transferring back. I think we had 1 transfer back last year. So, we're doing pretty well with those students, but we'll start getting those lists for students within the next couple of weeks. And then for fall, currently point to point, we have a 14% increase in housing applications for our first year students. Our summer orientation and registration process opens February 1st, and so that's when we can really start seeing another marker, point to point, like how we're doing as far as looking towards the fall. We always open that a little bit early to our dual enrollment students, just to give them first priority on getting those early sessions that fill up really quickly, and so we'll do that over the next week, even in the snow. We're not going to stop doing that. We'll make sure that goes out on time. And as far as transfers and graduates goes, it's really early in the cycle. They are just notoriously late to apply for admission, but we have really early indicators that are looking positive. So transfers, we are up 15% in those admitted students. Our graduate numbers look really good. So we look at 97% in applications. Of course, it's smaller ends, 85 compared to 43. Something we've done with our graduate students, we are doing a broad marketing campaign to our own undergraduate students who are ready to graduate. That was part of the new initiative to centralize the operations for undergraduate, graduate, international admissions. And so we are offering them an application fee waiver and really encouraging them to apply to our programs. And I know some of our faculty members are working on some accelerated, potentially, programs for students as well. And so I think that will pay off, in addition to the marketing firm and other avenues where we're trying to advertise our graduate programs.
Do you have any idea from a graduate student standpoint at what age you just kind of lose them to go into the graduate program? I mean, I'm assuming like somebody as old as Dan over here, right? That he's probably not going to have them on your radar screen, but is there a place where you can advertise to an age group after they've received undergraduate that you may be able to pull them back in?
Yes, I mean, we do a lot of that, and University Relations leads the charge on a lot of that as far as the advertising goes. But, I think there's a lot of analytics. You can choose students who that they think have a bachelor's degree based on Facebook or whatever analytics that they come up with, and try and recruit them. What we have learned from our marketing agency is the kind of the period of courting a graduate student is much longer than it is a traditional student. Typically 2 years. Students will kind of research programs, what we understand, for 2 years. So they may appear on an inquiry list, a list that we get from some of these sources where we're getting, leads and things like that, but it may be 2 years before they ever take that step. And so they're doing a lot more research than, kind of that traditional cycle of an undergraduate student.
What program are you seeing increasing on the graduate students? Is that education or what?
Yeah, I mean, education continues to certainly be our largest program, but we're strong in a lot of areas. We have a new social work program that'll start this fall. We currently have 16 applications in that program. Counseling is a very competitive program, and so both social work and counseling are hosting like virtual informational sessions, and I know counseling's consistently having 30 to 40 students participate in all of those, and so those are really strong programs. But really across the board, we're seeing good numbers. We just kind of had that dip this spring with our new students. And we have a lot of student success initiatives as well. I wanted to highlight a couple of those. We launched our Learning Commons in the fall in the library. It's a dedicated space where students can be served through supplemental instruction, tutoring, academic coaching, and it has just been so well received by our students. We've had, in the fall semester, we had 1,770 different students visit, many more than once. We don't have apples to apples numbers to compare that to, but if we look at just students who are coming for supplemental instruction, we're up about 400 visits there, 350 to 400 visits there. And supplemental instruction for spring 2026, we have 33 sections. 40 is our goal through our Title III grant initiatives. And, again, we're seeing just a lot of students taking advantage of those opportunities. Students who participate in those supplemental instruction have at least a 0.25 point increase in their GPA. In some subjects, even much more than that. Economics has a 1.18 increase in their GPA, psychology 0.76. So anyway, there's several, we can see a lot of that hard work and those that program implementation paying off. Another new initiative is we are adding full-time advisors, professional advisors in the College of Health and Behavioral Sciences and Education, Health and Behavioral Sciences, and Engineering and Natural Sciences. We're going to have 2 in Engineering and Natural Sciences. We're starting with 1 in Education, Health and Behavioral Sciences who will primarily work with nursing students. That's where we've seen our lowest first-year retention rate, just because anyone, it's our #1 major selected on the application. Anyone can put they want to be a nursing major. It doesn't matter what if they're qualified or not, maybe, to enter that program. And so I think as students are figuring out nursing's not for them, they need a little more hand-holding so we can develop better off-ramps for them. There are a lot of off-ramps that exist, but having that full-time dedicated advisor in that space, I think, will make a big difference. And then we will be fully staffed with advisors in engineering and natural sciences to supplement and, to support the faculty advising that's already happening. All right, so this is where we're headed. So this would be our largest enrollment ever at UT Martin. Our largest was in 2010, which was 8,469 students. So we would just surpass that when we hit our goal this fall. Okay, are there additional questions?
Well, Mr. Chairman, I always pay a lot of attention to on the graduate student side. It's one of my regrets right after I graduated that I didn't go on further. This is probably more of a.
Yeah, you
What's
can,
that?
I know,
you
we'll
can
accept
still
you.
go on.
You knew that was coming.
Think carefully before you
I
say.
don't have it up here. I still don't know that I have the discipline. What's that?
Oh, yeah.
I think I have less discipline now than I did at 22. But I guess, again, more of a comment than a question, but, there was a time, and it certainly still exists, where we saw a lot of manufacturing jobs leave in the 90s going into the 2000s, and you kind of had a shift. And the answer to that is that when those job losses took place, here's your opportunity to get a higher education degree and have another opportunity. in another field of some type with a higher education degree. Everything I've read about artificial intelligence and these massive changes we're getting ready to see take place that are already taking place, if you look at some companies that have been laying off nationwide into the tens of thousands, right? And what could come in the future, and just trying to watch that, those job losses those folks are already gonna have degrees. And I guess, so my comment / question is, when they start looking for some other type of job, some other profession to go into, will their current degree work for this shift that they're gonna have to take? Or, in 2026 and beyond, since graduate degrees are becoming much more common, is it the graduate degree that 30 years ago was the old undergraduate degree, in order to help them move into some other discipline, some other type of job? And the last thing I'll say is, I can't remember if I was reading a Wall Street Journal article, watching, I can't remember, but a pundit made the point that there's tens of thousands of new jobs that's going to be created because of artificial intelligence that we don't even know what it is yet. And so my mind automatically goes to, well, what level of education will it take for these new type of jobs? We don't even know what they are yet. So again, you may want to respond to that if you want to, but I just really believe that we need to be poised and ready for that need in the graduate degree sector going forward.
I agree
What
with
others
you.
work.
You know, hang with me on this example, okay? I liken this to when I took the CPA exam, we were not allowed to take calculators in there.
Yep.
Okay?
Right.
A calculator was a tool. They taught me how to use that tool to be an accountant. I think that the thing that the universities are gonna have to do is accept that AI is here. I mean, it's here. It's gonna help students in classrooms. It's gonna help teachers teach better. We've got to teach them to use that AI, just like the calculator, as a tool. And if we don't do that, eventually we're gonna have problems, because we're kidding ourselves. Now, the flip side of that is, without me having a calculator, I had to be able to understand all the functions. And AI may take some of that understanding away. I hope it doesn't. But the education, community, in my opinion, is gonna have to address how they are going to accept AI.
Yeah, Art always articulates it extremely well, and sort of takes the words right out of my mouth as I think about AI as maybe the most credible disruptor in our life right now, right? And Art talks about the calculator as the disruptor. I remember when my first years of college, it was when the personal computers came out, when the PCs came out. And I also remember in high school using the typewriter, that PEG method, right? And so we had that PEG method that was going, and how the PCs revolutionized the way that you were able to type papers and Excel, and all of these different things were contained on this computer where you could make corrections. And so when I was an undergraduate, what happened is we were required to take a personal computing course so that we could learn how to use the PC and how to use the technology that was there. AI has to be in the same way. Now, I will say that, and I'll go down saying that I think the role of higher education is to teach people how to think critically. Innovation comes through critical thinking, right? And so it's okay to understand how things are done, but I am hoping that the generation of students we are teaching now are going to help us with innovation and thinking about new and wonderful and excellent ways of doing things better, more efficiently, more effectively. And so I think we have a responsibility as a higher ed institution to challenge our students to think outside the box and to think about things that we've not dreamed of before. But you're right, it's not going anywhere. It is amazing to me that most of us carry around right now with us every day, a cell phone, and the cell phone has as much power as those first PCs. If y'all remember, I may be aging myself, but the really big ones, right, that you know that you had. You have that power in your cell phone right now. So the technology is going to continue to refine. It's going to continue to get better. It's going to continue to advance. And we have to train our students to be able to do that and understand it and to be able to use it. We can't wait until graduate school to do it. I think we've got to figure out how to do that in undergraduate. It is a challenge because it does so much right now. And every time you turn your head, there is another AI tool out there that you can use that will help you, whether it's presentations or papers, or you maybe be able to use it to write a dissertation. Nobody record that. This is not being recorded, right? So it does so much that we have to continue to challenge our students to be critical thinkers, but learn how to use the tool and not rely individually, singly, and so heavily on the tool that's there. But use it as a tool.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Chairman, I would say that this generation, say the Gen Z generation, has had access to more information since birth than any generation throughout human history. And, sometimes I wonder if the human brain has evolved enough to be able to accept having that much information. But when you pull in, going to your point, when you pull in artificial intelligence and the disruption it will cause certainly in the workplace, but then also moving forward into what is it we can do? Where are we going to send people into outer space? What are we going to cure, et cetera, with that technology? Whether someone can cram in all that's going to entail in 4 years of education, it may be a totally new model we have to look at. I guess that's why I go back and say, is the graduate degree going to be in the future the old undergraduate degree? And I just think we have to be poised for that. Just a comment, don't mean to carry us on too far.
Yeah, I was just going to add, we are, as part of our strategic enrollment plan, we are looking to move our computer science to having, and I see Dean Bushhouse in the back, to have a completely online undergraduate degree, but then also expand that to a graduate program, which I am sure will incorporate a great deal of AI.
Well, I will say, I feel like we're not running from it at our institution. We have a policy about AI, about use of AI in the classroom. We have a Center for Teaching and Learning. Dr. Rasul is not here. I don't think he's here today, but he is the director of the Center for Teaching and Learning. He is doing informational sessions and training for our faculty and our staff on the effective use of AI, in particular in the classroom. How do you continue to build critical thinkers? It does not come naturally, right? Where you would know that automatically. And so he is phenomenal at continuing to push that narrative about how we use AI to advance learning in the classroom. So I don't feel like we're running from it, but we are definitely on a treadmill.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll turn to the next item, which is athletics update. And Kurt McCuffin.
Well, thank you for having me today. I wanted to preface my report by, we're going to focus on three things. One is still touting our academic success of our student athletes. It's been unbelievable. I'm so proud of them. Second, we're going to talk about some current issues in athletics. You've all heard them. Name, image, likeness, revenue share, transfer portals, how that affects us and what we're doing procedurally to counteract some of that. And then third, facilities. Facilities still, we feel at UT Martin, we need to continue to upgrade our facilities for athletics. We think that is still a recruiting tool, even though at bigger schools now it's all about the name, image, likeness, revenue share money, but we're going to do some of that, but we're going to still concentrate on our facilities because we think when we get them to Martin, we got to show them what they're going to get better at every year, every day, and then also some facilities that we need to produce revenue outside of athletics use. We need the revenue piece, and we're just trying to be creative on how we can increase our operating budgets. First off, proud of our athletes. We continue to set records. This is about 500 student athletes, managers, student assistants that we calculate this GPA on. 3.39 last fall in the classroom. Unbelievable. 94 4.0s, so almost 20% of all student athletes got a 4.0 last fall, and over 323 above a 3.0. So I may have to get Art's calculator out. I think that's above 60%, well above 60% of all our student athletes eligible that we calculate this on. You can see our growth since fall of 2018. It's just been a lot of things. One, the buy-in from the student athletes. And I think as I get to the next topic about transferring and keeping student athletes, still to have them on track and graduate is really important. Coaches buy in, but I'm going to recognize 3 people sitting in the room today. When we changed in 2018 or 2017 when I got here, we had a half-time basically person doing academic advising for our athletes. We've been fortunate. We've added some advisors there. We won a grant from the McClendon Foundation to have an advisor. Then we made that position full-time. We bought into this, and we changed how we did athletic advising. We went from the study halls to more mentoring, and these 3 people back here have done a lot. If you go into our offices, every day they have, every 20, 30 minutes, they got a kid in there. They're revolving them through, having them work with tutors, getting them assigned to tutors, getting them in their classes, making sure they're on track. So I want to, obviously, Ashley Bynum is our Senior Associate AD for Internal, so she oversees compliance and academics. And then Corbin Jordan and Emily Ann Sparks, who are our 3 main academic advisors for our teams. I just want to introduce you to them, and hopefully you'll congratulate them on the job they've done with our athletics. Now the fun stuff. And I got Ashley in here because she works on this day to day. I just kind of look at the dollars and, and hopefully we stay within budgets, which is hard. But these issues are definitely here to stay. And I'm going to start with our conference update, because this is probably the easier one. I think there's no secret, if you've been in tune with college athletics and the way that conferences realign, schools go from one conference to the other, and there's really nothing that we didn't look at. When Tennessee Tech, who they're still in the conference this year, but when they leave for next year to go to the Southern Conference, that really, I wouldn't say we were panicked, but we were concerned on where the Ohio Valley Conference was going, which we'd been a member since 93 or 94, I think. So we looked at a lot of that, and Dr. Freeman got tired of me coming into his office saying, what should we do? We had an offer to join another conference, for sure. We looked at everything. It was really us and Southeast Missouri State wanted to stay together, and we were going to, if one of us decided to go, both of us were going to go, and had a lot of meetings with Southeast Missouri State's president and athletic director. But in the end, that conference that we were offered to join, there were still a lot of unknowns. We didn't really know how much the travel, there's some Texas schools in that conference. We didn't feel like budgetarily for us, we have about a $15.5 million budget. The average budget in that conference is about $22.5 million, with the largest at $32 million. So it was going to maybe strain us more than we thought we needed to. And when I first got here, we were probably in the bottom 2 or 3 in athletic budgets in the Ohio Valley Conference when the Jacksonville State and Murray State and Eastern Kentucky were in our conference. And now we've grown. We've grown our budget, but we've also are in one of the top 2 or 3s in the conference, along with Lindenwood, SEMO, and others. And I think not that having more money produces wins and championships, but I think over the last 3 years, we've definitely produced more championships than we ever have here at UT Martin in a multitude of sports. From cross country to golf to football and men's basketball, women's basketball, you can keep naming them. We're very proud of that. And I think it was Dr. Freeman and SEMO, we'd agreed we need to stay in this conference. I think the presidents and chancellors of the Ohio Valley Conference kind of unified together to make it stronger. Some of the things that are coming with our conference, obviously our commissioner that was a longtime commissioner with the Ohio Valley Conference resigned or retired. So Whit Kiefer is a search firm that is leading the charge to find us a new commissioner. Dr. Freeman is on that search. I think they'll start a lot of initial Zoom calls and maybe even during the Ohio Valley Conference basketball tournament in Evansville in March, maybe have some finalists, and hopefully we'll announce a new commissioner in March or April that will start very soon. We think that's very important. We think this commissioner, externally focused, aggressive, because that's the way college athletics is now. Finding new members. We do need new schools. We're pretty set. You know, I feel confident in who we have, but we need to add another football school to justify our schedules. We'd like to have 9 football schools so we can have an 8-game schedule, because it's hard to find conference games or non-conference games. So that is coming. I'm very happy with our conference right now, because I think we're more unified than we ever have been. Name, image, likeness, revenue share. I mean, this is something that we decided a couple years ago to opt into. You had the ability as a smaller institution to either opt in or out. And what this means basically is the house settlements with all of the student athletes that have sued the NCAA, and the settlement that came. We have opted into some of the new regulations as far as like roster sizes. I mean, we're going to limit some of our roster sizes, like football, where we used to have 125 or 130 on the roster, a lot of walk-ons because you can only have 85 on the scholarship. We're going to have to limit that over time to 105. And all the sports have a set limit that you cannot exceed once we filter through some of the designated student athletes. So we've opted into that. Some of the things that concerning, yes, you have to pay, even if you opted in or out, you still have to pay some of the settlement. So even though the Power Fours or the Autonomy Fours were sued, every school in the NCAA has to pay a part of the settlement. So our distributions from the NCAA will be limited starting this year of about $300,000 is our piece of that for the next 10 years. So we do have some challenges to overcome with this, but we've also developed some procedures to do some revenue sharing with some of our sports. I mean, we have student athletes in football and both basketballs, men's and women's, that will receive parts of name, image, likeness, and revenue shares. We'll exceed their scholarships and make payments to them. We did it last year some, but that's something that we're working with to change some of our procedures to bring that in-house. That was part of the settlement as well, that we're working with the foundation to set up an account. We had an outside collective that will continue some, but most of our money will come into the foundation account and be dispersed like we do any type of scholarship type thing to the student athlete. Not all at once. We're going to try to do it quarterly, but we will have probably, I would say, in the next academic year, 50 to 60 kids on some type of revenue share or name, image, likeness contract. They will sign an academic contract, tuition, books, fees, and then we will have another, for these kids that receive this, we'll have another contract that gives us a little more flexibility to withhold the money, or, you know, if they transfer, keep the money and not pay it out. So there's a lot I could set up here for 2 hours probably talking about this, or Ashley could, but there's a lot to do, and we're trying to get this done to be within what the NCAA is allowing us to do. The transfer portal. You know, the transfer portal changes every year, and I think it'll change again, because I'm certain that football coaches do not like one transfer window. So unless a coach leaves their school, then they have some other opportunity to transfer. But really, football student athletes only have, this was the first year of this, January 2nd to January 16th to enter the transfer portal, okay? This has caused a lot of, it's been very hard for every football staff, but, you know, in our staff, you know, because we have more mid-year transfers coming into UT Martin for football than we've ever had. We've doubled it, maybe even tripled it from our normal years. And that's difficult, because we've had to spend more on recruiting during this month, because you only have that short window to bring them in. And we're going to have to do some things to assist with that operationally. So that's going to be a big part of how we're going to look at it this year and try to make some changes, but it's going to be difficult to make some changes, because this is why the Autonomy 4 conference is wanted, but we'll see how they like it. The hard thing about this is, as you know, we started school January 8th. Very lucky that Destin Tucker worked well with us to allow kids to be admitted after the 8th. That's very hard, I know, on professors, and hey, come on, we've already started, but not all schools have allowed that, but we've been very lucky, and we've been allowed to do that, and it's helped us, because this window doesn't work for every institution. Even the national championship game went into this window, so it's very, very hard. Basketball also changed their model. They used to have 30 days, now they only have a 15-day window, so we're going to see how that works in the future, but The transfer portal is here. There was 10,000 football student athletes that entered the transfer portal at the FBS and FCS level. Okay, there's 6,000 that have gone unsigned. So the data shows, hopefully, these student athletes who are being advised to enter the transfer portal, that they may not have a spot. And over 55% FCS, now 60% this year, do not have a spot. They are not either in school or on a football team that decided to go into the transfer portal. And that could be a lot of reasons. That could be they didn't get playing time, they tried to move lower, or maybe they thought they could move higher based on their performance or whatever. But there's going to be a lot of football athletes that are not going to be playing football next year because they're not being picked up. And so it's going to be a strange way to counteract this in the future. Last thing, projects. Again, projects, athletic construction is very important to us. Completed this last year, baseball hitting facility and the baseball field. We basically gutted their field and put up a new fence, drainage system. Very happy with that. There's one issue with it, but we'll get through that. But very happy with baseball. I think that's one sport that, other than the building that has a locker room, we didn't really touch for a long time here, and we were happy to give them a good playing field surface to play on. It's all natural grass. It's what we wanted, and I think they're really excited to play on it again this year. The Elam Center Court, we totally renovated. We tore up the old Elam Center Court and put down a new, more probably healthier court, that more bounce. Ours was placed on that old surface concrete, basically. The old one was, but we put some more cushion into it. It's really helped us, made it bigger because it fell off sometimes. We had to put those ramps on there. So the Elam Center Court was renovated this year. The men's basketball locker room was opened. We did women's basketball about 5 years ago. And then the football weight room. The Student Life Center, which is the building kind of by the Bob Carroll that we had the weight room in the basement of there, was about 7,000 square feet. We moved it up to the upstairs gymnasium and doubled their square footage. And then where the weight room was, we're currently raising money to build a team room and some more breakout rooms for their football team. So I think that's real important. It's good to have that building there that we don't have to do new construction. Some of the incomplete ones that we're really trying to raise money for is the pool area. All of you probably know we closed the pool about 4 or 5 years ago. That's a great indoor turf space. Really trying to raise money to have an indoor turf space, especially what's coming here this weekend, our baseball and softball and soccer and whoever teams can be in there. And that's one of those facilities that I talk about revenue. As all of you, if any of you have had travel soccer or softball or any sport kids, there's not much between Memphis and Paducah with indoor space, with turf. We want to bring in soccer tournaments and softball and baseball tournaments into Martin and put on our tournaments and produce some revenue for us outside of just athletics use. The track and field is still a subject we need to attack at some point. We've got about 60 kids on a track team, not really a great track surface to use. I think there's more high schools in the area that are adding track and field, so I think it's a time that we try to work together. We have the perfect spot for it with lighting and everything, so we've still got some work to do to raise money for that. And then outdoor lighting is real important to me. We don't have LED lighting in football, baseball, softball, soccer, even where the beach volleyball and the pickleball and tennis courts are. That's a big piece because we've spent a lot of money on replacing lights every year, and I think it's time to be efficient. We couldn't host any football playoff games without renting new lights to come into our facility because they're not TV quality. And if you are an ESPN Plus member and watch any of our games on ESPN Plus, that's important to them for the outdoor. We did the Elam Center 2 years ago with LED lights. It's been awesome. It's been great. So we're working on all of those facilities to try to make our athletes and again, produce some revenue. I had to do this, Art. There's 2 reasons. 1, thank you for having me up here. 2, thank you for your service. You've always been a supporter of athletics. You kind of know how it fits into a university structure. And also, if you know who does my PowerPoints, who's sitting in this room, who does my creativity,
I know exactly where that came from.
you know where it came from. Any questions for me?
The transfer, if I'm a student at UT Martin and I enter the transfer portal, I have basically said, I don't have any expectation of coming back to Martin, or y'all don't have any obligation.
Correct.
For me.
If they enter the transfer portal, we have the right to, now, We've had a couple come back. That's between their coaches and them. Last year, I think we had maybe couple football kids come back. That Jason said, yeah, I want you to go ahead and enter it. If you don't feel comfortable with anything, you can come back. That's not always the case, and sometimes they enter probably bad advisement. I think we could get into this agent stuff that happens all the time. Athletic directors at all levels are trying to push for some agent policies and rules because they're charging these kids 20% of their signage, and that's just wrong. I don't think anybody charges 20% for any type of agency fees or anything like that. But yeah, once they enter, they basically take themselves out of the team atmosphere and are usually gone. There's very few that come back.
You said you had about 500 athletes. Remember how many athletes there were when you got here?
We had 330.
Okay.
We've increased
So
it.
50% increase.
Yeah, I think our athlete numbers may come down a hair when we talk about the roster sizes, but really, baseball has come down from 47. They have to be down to 34. That one hurt a little bit. Football is working their way down. That's the one that's probably going to cause the most hurt to the university because we don't want to. There's a walk-ons that we're basically getting down to 105 from 125, so that hurts a little bit. But we've been pretty good lately. Some of our other sports can increase, and I think track has the most potential to increase, but we're limited with the facility piece of that.
You say hurt the university because you've got a smaller roster, but let's go back to before you came. There's still 170 students.
Yeah, I think.
More
Yeah,
that are paying tuition.
yeah. When we came, we added a lot to our rosters. Like I said, baseball went up to 47. I think we had 48 at one point. Track increased their rosters. Equestrian keeps theirs. Adding stunt has really kept us where we are because we didn't have stunt before, and stunt just got approved to be a emerging sport by the NCAA last week. She's added 40 student athletes to stunt, and again, no scholarships are awarded to them. So there is some ways that we can continue to keep our numbers up as best we can.
You were at the NCAA conference or something last week. What do you, the NIL, they keep correcting it each year. At what point in time will they settle anything?
I don't think they can take it back. And
can't put toothpaste
I've
back
seen
in the
some
tube.
schools, Ohio State said that the 22 or whatever million that the Autonomy Fours, the Big Tens, the SEC, Big 12, and ACC have to put back in. They say that's not enough. So I think it's only going to increase. And I'm hoping some of this transfer portal data will limit, hopefully these kids will wake up and not try to move all the time. We've had kids 5 schools in 5 years, and now the waiver situation is probably the biggest headache in the NCAA right now is allowing, I saw one NBA guy had 2 NBA contracts and wants to finish his eligibility, come back and finish. They can't fight it because if I was Charlie Baker, the president of the NCAA, said our lawsuit, our fees, they could spend $600 million on fees, I think, fighting all these, and I don't know when it's going to stop.
Questions?
I got one, Kurt. I'm concerned about these contracts. I know the situation is fluid, but what I'm reading is some of these guys are signing contracts and then they're leaving and soon to get out of them. What would that do for us? Obviously, we're not on that level. We're paying big guys $5 million.
No.
But are we gonna be able to hold these people to a contractor if we get somebody who decides, we were talking about a young man from California, if he decides, he has a great year, he decides, I think I'll go to UCLA. Could we enforce that contract?
What? Yeah, they're just 1-year contracts.
Oh, okay.
We don't sign multiple years. Ashley's answering that for me, but yeah,
Okay.
they're just 1 year, just like a scholarship. Now, sometimes in football, we can do fall onlys when they need just 1 semester of eligibility and they're gonna graduate, but they're just 1-year contracts, just like our normal, academic contracts. They're just gonna be 1-year contracts. And we're trying, let's say someone gets 5,000 extra, because that's what we're basically dealing with, maybe up to 20,000. We're trying to back end load that. So we're not gonna give 20,000 in January 15th. We're gonna do it quarterly, maybe monthly, depending on what we can work out in the system to refund that. So we're gonna protect ourselves there, and we're not going to offer more than what we have in the previous year. You know, because we have the outside collective, there's some things that we can do, you know, like men's basketball can play guarantee games, which we play for our budget, but if they wanted to play an extra one, they can, that money could go to the revenue share piece.
Thank you. Thank you, Ed.
Good question.
Any other questions? Thank you.
Thank you. Now we'll go into the strategic plan update. Jake Bynum, the Chief of Staff for the Chancellor. Jake, are you gonna cover the capital projects and stuff like that in this, or can
No.
you?
I'm gonna talk a little bit.
You
No.
are, okay.
No and no.
Okay, okay.
I'm gonna let my chancellor do that. I do.
I thought you were gonna say your assistant.
Yeah. I do just want to mention to Board Member Maupin that I also wanted to get a graduate degree right after my undergraduate degree, and my dad would not pay for that. He refused to pay for that.
Had 4 more behind him.
Just wasn't there.
So I want to thank you all for the opportunity today to talk about the strategic plan update. About a year ago, or almost exactly a year ago, this body approved our strategic plan that then we took to the Board of Trustees at their February meeting. Since that time, and today we'll cover our 5 goals, key achievements, and investment priorities for the coming year and years for the strategic plan. This presentation really summarizes approximately 40 initiatives in the strategic plan with the 5 goals and 24 strategies that have been submitted by the strategy leads. I do want to just take a quick second to say that this work is not done in a vacuum, that as I have mentioned before, Chancellor Freeman was intentional about asking senior leaders across this campus to take these goals and strategies and implement the achievement of those, and that is good work that they would also say is not done in a vacuum, that we have hundreds of employees engaged in this work to get us to the goals that we're looking to achieve by 2030. So you all have a report in your packet that really kind of outlines where we are on all of those strategies, but we did want to provide just an executive summary of what that looks like. So of our 24 strategies, about 87% of them have been initiated. 3 of those targets are fully completed at this point. 17 are actively in progress, and 6 remain uninitiated. Now, a lot of the reason why some of those remain uninitiated is that we're waiting for some sort of external factor. So that's either guidance from the UT system on compensation structure, or some sort of additional guidance around policies, or some sort of scheduling for survey cycles, those kind of things, is the reason why we've seen a delay. I will just tell you all that we constantly have to look at Bud Grimes and tell him that not all of these things have to be completed in the first 6 months of the strategic plan. I think that's a thing that we've now gotten him accustomed to, that this really is a marathon, not a sprint, that it is a 5-year plan, and so some of these things will just not happen in the immediate. Our strongest momentum, obviously, is around enrollment, where we have exceeded our fall 25 priorities, and with a nearly 8% increase in enrollment over last year. We also have seen some great movement in infrastructure and made some significant investments in wireless technology and housing. So
You said you had 24 initiatives.
24 strategies.
Strategies.
Yes.
And that was the 3, the 17, and the 6, which
Right.
added 26.
Correct. So in all actuality, gosh, dang it, Petra, I was checking your numbers and not checking mine. In all actuality, when we did that executive summary report, because of the way that some of those strategies are laid out, there's additional targets, and
Okay.
so when we initiated the report, it picked up 2 extra targets, which we then encapsulated in strategies. So
I did that without my calculator.
good catch
I
on
want you to
that.
know
So goal one is related to sustainable enrollment growth. I won't spend a ton of time on this goal because you have heard Destin speak at every single advisory board essentially since she took over her position and have seen the great work that we're doing around enrollment. A couple of things that I do just want to mention though is that while our enrollment model has been based upon 5% growth, and we have obviously exceeded that over the last 2 years. That has allowed us to make some adjustments around where we see that future growth going, where we've seen a lot of increase in first-time, full-time freshmen. We know that at some point that number probably levels out. As we continue to grow that number, it doesn't probably grow at the same level. And so then where is the rest of that growth? And so things like graduate programs, those things that Destin talked about. We also, while goal one, strategy 2 was related to international students, and we obviously have some apprehension around where we are with international student recruitment. What we can say is that we are seeing some wins in that, even with the challenges. So international enrollment grew by 51%, so we went from 37 international students to 56 students, and so not the kind of growth that we would have loved to have seen, but growth nonetheless. You also see some monetary figures associated with that. The strategy leads were asked to, in this last reporting, talk about what potential capital investment from the university would be needed. And so this is not appropriated numbers. These are not numbers that are going to be allocated in a budget. These are what it would take to get to some of these goals for us to then think about budgetary priorities as we move forward into the next few years. Goal 2 is around enhancing institutional reputation. What we can celebrate today is that we've added service delivery questions to our student satisfaction survey, giving us a new mechanism to assess how well we're serving our students across the institution. Some things that are in progress in this goal are the Center for Teaching and Learning is now tracking faculty participation in professional development and creating badges and a certificate system to recognize training and completion. For staff onboarding, we are developing both an online handbook and a change in the way that we onboard new staff members to better serve them and then for them to better serve the institution. We've determined that we're going to conduct the NACADA advising survey biannually rather than annually due to cost consideration. And so the next administration of that survey will be in fall of 26. And then brand recognition efforts are using Hanover Research as our baseline on that strategy, with a second campus scene survey plan to achieve a better response rate for that publication. Goal 3 is around our virtual and physical spaces. As you'll note, this is where we see the largest kind of thought around future budget planning. Obviously, that's where our largest kind of investment is from a monetary standpoint, is around our facilities and structures. We've seen some great achievements in housing. While that has continue to put a crunch, we also celebrate the fact that we're seeing the highest occupancy rate we've ever had. However, we are seeing obviously some loss in beds when we take down facilities, but we're actively engaged housing's actively engaged in 8 initiatives to increase bed space both on and off campus, and obviously a huge investment of around $5 million to cover new construction, renovation, and furniture and staffing. Technology has seen substantial progress over the last year. So we've had 193 new access points installed across BRIM, Gooch, Humanities, EPS, the library, the University Center, and residence halls. We've migrated to a new wireless management system, upgraded our Spectrum connection to increase capacity from 5 gigabytes per second to 10 gigabytes per second this spring, and our current capacity supports 64,000 concurrent devices. Additional programs in this goal include Canvas training is now embedded for new faculty orientation and will be ready for summer 26. The campus signage project that we're currently undergoing received 581 survey responses. That's a big deal, that number. Guiding our phase 1 internal signage work, and beginning Q2 of 2026, you'll start to see new signage across this campus with an intent to change all signage by the end of the strategic plan. Distance learning technology rooms are being prioritized in Latimer Smith and EPS. And we have 12 tutoring consultation stations operational by spring of 26, doubling our capacity around student engagement and counseling services. And that's academic counseling for those that are paying attention. Goal 4 deals with regional partnerships and strengthening our commitment to West Tennessee. Completed initiatives include a faculty-led project, contract, and budget templates that have been finalized and are already being used by our Center for Rural Innovation. And then we have also secured software to access conducting economic impact studies. We're now working on a menu of proposal cost options so that communities can come to the institution and ask for us to help them with impact studies. I had a conversation with a faculty member today around an external partner that wants us to do an impact study for them. And so we're excited about having that resource available to the community. In progress,
Will that be discussed later, as far as the impact study software?
It is not, unless, Alan, Dr. Strabisky, you're not planning on talking about the impact study piece, because that's Dr. Delmon, right?
Okay. Just, all right.
But if you have a question, Alicia Melton's in the room.
Super.
She's kind of
Good deal.
leading that charge, and she can answer those questions. I can't answer any actual questions if you have them. In progress, we've established a dedicated email with Town and Gown for community engagement. A community request form is being drafted and ready to launch. We've defined 9 partnership kind of categories for the institution that include university advancement, career planning, grants and research, economic development, academic and business and industry, educational partners, student affairs, athletics, and finance and administration. We have lots of partnerships from across West Tennessee, and so it's important for us to be able to put those in buckets and also be able to track where those partnerships have some overlap. We're developing an expert recognition program, and a unified communication strategy framework is being planned as well for us to determine how best and what constituents need to know what information at what time. Our next steps in some of this work is that we need to finalize those partnership definitions. We plan to launch a community portal, develop advisory board templates for all of our colleges, and creating a systematic annual reporting mechanism for a number of these initiatives. And then finally, Goal 5 celebrates and promotes excellence across our campus community. Really and truly, some of the work that's being done here and has been accomplished is the development of the Skyhawk Summit Award, which is really kind of one of our signature initiatives in this category. This award will be named after Coach Pat Head Summit and fashioned after UTK's Torchbearer Award. The purpose of this award would be to honor Coach Summit by recognizing those who exemplify her values, her work, her ethics, and her contribution. We plan to award those through a number of categories and plan to publicize in late of spring of 26 the selection that will be occurring in spring of 27. The Chancellor's Leadership Academy is one of our greatest achievements in this goal. The inaugural cohort is in their midway point of the program. Participants have received Clifton Strengths Assessment, a judgment index evaluations, and executive coaching opportunities. Recruitment for the second cohort will begin soon. There are currently 13 members in our current cohort with the plan to do about 12 members per cohort. Our Skyhawk Innovation Challenge has the framework already developed for it, marketing materials created, and a SharePoint site ready. Marketing will begin hopefully in summer of 26 for this initiative with an informational session in fall of 26 and an application deadline of probably March of 27. This is one of the areas where there has been already an initial ask made because the plan is to award up to $100,000 in funds in order to support innovative solutions for regional challenges. This is really modeled after the Systems Grand Challenges grants. And so faculty and staff members would be able to apply for grants to answer some of our largest challenges in the region. Additional progress is a web-based faculty profiles that are now available for all faculty. This allows them to highlight their expertise and research. Experiential learning framework has been defined, and we're considering software and tracking student engagement. And staff career ladders are currently on hold depending on guidance from the UT system and a Huron compensation study. So in summary, I just will mention that of all of those current requests, that's about a $6 million current request for priorities. But what we know is that we can't make these decisions unless we plan for these decisions. And so we are allowing those strategy leads to put in what their capital requests are from a budgetary standpoint so that we can plan for the future in that way. Again, those funds are not currently allocated, and this really is to allow us to more effectively budget in the future. I will also say that this won't be the smallest number you probably see, that as we move into the implementation of these strategies, I think this number continues to increase, but we continue to make, this is our guiding document through 2030, and so this will also guide our decisions around financial investment. Questions?
Good presentation.
Perfect.
He got off pretty easy, Hal.
He did.
He did.
He did. I stayed very quiet about it.
Well, had you allowed him to go to graduate school, he,
That's right. It's always my fault. Yeah,
You didn't stop him, he just had to pay.
Could have been.
that's right.
okay, we'll ask Dr. Beebe and Dr. Strabitsky to come forward for the Jay Houston and Debbie Gordon Center for Rural Innovation.
Good afternoon, Chancellor Freeman, members of the advisory board. So I'm Jeffrey Beebe. I'm Dean for the College of Humanities and Fine Arts. We all have an image of a small southern town. Grain silo, Main Street, town probably had just enough traffic lights that you can count them, maybe on one hand. Church and school at the center of community life. A town clerk that knows everybody and probably knows what they're up to or what they should be up to. These towns dot the landscape. A few are thriving, some are dying, but all are really struggling to determine what their future looks like in a challenging and changing 21st century economy. This struggle was really at the heart of Adnan Rasul and Tony Delman's UT Grand Challenge grant. They wanted to provide our students with internship opportunities while helping small communities develop greater capacity to tackle the challenges that they faced. When the grant ended, several things had happened. First off, our students really saw the possibilities of community and public service, and the communities were able to see potentially brighter futures ahead. With the creation of the new Department of Political Science and Global Studies in the College of Humanities and Fine Arts, we saw that this grant really was not the end of a project, but the beginning of a new academic center. With funding from the college, administrative support from outreach and economic development, and a generous endowment from Houston and Debbie Gordon, we have officially launched the Jay Houston and Debbie Gordon Center for Rural Innovation. The center is led by an educator, a community leader, and a former elected official, Dr. Alan Stravinsky. His unique background, passion for West Tennessee, and his keen desire to work with our students really position this center to be a transformational force in the region. So I want to invite Dr. Stravinsky to come forward and tell you more about the center, its mission, and its future. Alan?
Thank you, Dean. Appreciate it. Well, thank you for your kind words. Thank you for the opportunity to come and present to you this whole notion of the Center for Rural Innovation. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. I've known some of you, and some of you I've met today, and some of you I look forward to getting to know. But if you humor me for 30 seconds, I got to brag on one of y'all, okay? You know, I was the mayor of Stanton, Tennessee for the last 20 years. And, a number of years back, this company named Ford made an announcement. They're going to have this huge, massive, unbelievably large car manufacturing plant like right in Stanton. 6,000 people? Whoa, we got a lot of work to do. We gotta figure out how to get businesses here, how to get them up to date, get them moved in, and what's the infrastructure. I mean, we knew a little bit, but you know, why learn this the hard way? Why don't we go out and find somebody who's been to this movie, who has the knowledge, skills, and abilities to do it? And somebody said, I know a guy, and in walked Art Sparks. He brought with him this knowledge, this expertise, this experience, and wisdom. He brought it in the door, and I was writing notes as fast as I can. Under his guidance, we were able to put together our first restaurant in Stanton in years. He made it happen. He delegated people from his company to come and help us. And so we have now the Stanton Cannery Cafe. Miss Gloria says to tell you hi, and thank you so much for what you did for her. Thank you. Okay, so let's talk about what the dean said. Didn't he absolutely peg small town America? It was exactly right. The town reporter knows everybody, what they're doing and what they're not supposed to be doing. You're right. That's just the way we are. And it's that way all across West Tennessee, all across the United States, and probably has always been that way because we're human beings. This is how we work. So little towns need help. We need a lot of help. We don't have any resources. We got a lot of opportunities in front of us, a lot of dreams that may be chaotic, but we need some strategic direction. We need help. We need funding. We need grants. We need people qualified to do the job. And a lot of towns aren't lucky enough to have art anywhere around them. What do you do? What do you do? Well, you have to do something like find those resources. I was talking to a city manager in a small town in another state just a couple weeks ago, and he said, you know, I'm ready to retire. I want to retire. And there's nobody qualified to take my place. I can't just leave it alone. Somebody's got to do it. I said, sounds like you don't have any bench strength. He goes, bench strength? I don't even have a branch. So that's where we're at. This is where Center for Rural Innovation can come in. Now let me see if I can figure out how to innovate this way. All right, so what we do, we work with local governments because they don't have the resources, the funding to pay for people to come in and do work. We have students here at Martin who really need to learn that, have that experience, reality-based, hands-on experiential learning, and then they can march out into the workforce. It's all about workforce development, right? Now, a richer person bringing greater experiences to the workforce helps their career. And the other one is local regional government. They need technical reports, and I really need to change that. It's not really technical reports. I'll give you an example, and you can figure it was a technical report. But it allows us to go outside of just putting students into places where they work within the local government, but to help meet the local government needs more on a technical. And then there's local, regional, social, cultural kinds of things that we do, like Tent City. Are you all familiar with Tent City? Okay, there's been a lot of work done that, but there are lots of other opportunities out there as well. We need to find the ability to do those kinds of social projects to make them memorialized for the future generations. So what do we do? Well, first thing we did is we had to do all this, recruiting materials in QR code, and blah, 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 blah. This is a classic example of building on the plane while you fly it. So let's talk about local government and student interns. This is where we find students and we put them with local government to actually do the work. And here we have had 17 applicants. I just started work here at the end of August-ish. So we got 17 applicants, and we had the budget to place 8 interns. And this is where they are right now in here. Henry County, by the way, has got 4 of them. And this is going, up to 8. And I have a little bit more wiggle room in the budget, but what we do is we pay all the students $12 an hour, 120 hours, because that's what you need for 3 hours credit, right? And they go out there and they work in some of them are, when you get a grant, where's Alicia? Well, when you get a grant and you're really, really busy, okay, I got the grant, there, grant award, poof, throw it in the box. Oh, this is the first thing I need to do, poof, throw it in the box. Oh, I need to do these reports, throw it in the box. And by the end of the grant, you got this box, everything's in it, but it's not organized. Do I have everything in it? I'm not real sure. Do I have the time to go through this and put together, ready for the auditor to come and check it out? No, I don't. So guess what? Some of our interns are doing take that box apart. Okay, what is the auditor looking at? What is this for? What federal regulations do we need to meet? Those are the kind of practical things that they're doing. All right. Remember I said technical reports? This is the one we're in discussion with right now. I'm trying to put this together. We have an opportunity. This is a $192,000 grant I'm going for. Could be more, could be less, depending on what Alicia tells me. This is Northwest Tennessee, 9 counties. A lot of these people don't have a vision. They don't have an economic strategy. They're just kind of bumbling along, and sometimes they get lucky and sometimes they don't. And all the energy and effort needs to be focused in strategic ways, and so that it helps the entire 9-county region make that happen. So I'm working with Northwest Tennessee Development District to make this happen. And there's lots of things that people need that I'm calling on their technical reports. And it could be economic development, population analysis, housing analysis, socioeconomic, traffic analysis, needs analysis, subdivision, and Jake, you were talking about economic impact. Okay, suppose you get all this done, you say, oh yeah, we need to build at least 3 200-unit subdivisions right here, here, and here. So the mayor goes and says, goes to the developer, we really need you to build a 200-unit subdivision right here, the crossroads, blah, 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 blah. And when it gets done, the developer's gonna say, you want me to invest $5 million in construction loan and land purchase? Show me where I'm gonna get my money back, or even better, make money on this project. And the mayor goes, oh, it's just a wonderful opportunity. Right. What we have is this right here, these credentials. A faculty member who knows all about its independent, third-party, objective, economic impact. The mayor can take to the developer and go, here you go, I want you to spend $5 million right there. And this guy right here, who's an expert, independent from me, has nothing to do with us, he says, this is the kind of money you can make. Which approach has a better opportunity? I'm betting on this one right here. And then you can attract developers with hard empirical evidence. And those are the reports, these are the kinds of things that towns out here are crying for. There's more than that I could list, but we need these, the small towns need, because they don't have the resources to do it. They don't have access to the Art Sparks of the world. They don't have access to developers or economic impact, but we, UT Mark, we've got it. And I want to get that name out there and that reputation out there and make it smart.
Make it smart.
But we have greater opportunity than just Northwest Tennessee. We can go to Tennessee, yeah, but within 50-mile commute is Arkansas, Kentucky, Missouri, Illinois. And what that does, yeah, we can't ask any student to go to Illinois every day and work in an office, no, but what they can do is help us with those other needs analysis and gives them opportunities for greater exposure. Workforce development, they walk out of here with a diploma here, but a resume that's a lot more helpful. That's what we're after. And here's the problem. In order to do that, the towns don't have the money. So what I gotta do is go find the money to pay the students so they can go and do the work for the town. So I'm on the hunt constantly for grants to do these kinds of things. And there's my contact. Any questions? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Tab number 7 has the potential dates for future meetings. 26th, May 15th, 26th, and September 18th. I assume those are on Fridays. The 27th, they have January 22nd, May 14th, and September 17th. I know that's well in the future, but this will give you an opportunity to get it on your calendar. But Jake, I believe we need a vote to determine that those are the correct dates. And they could be subject to change, but this gives us a starting point.
I'd move.
I have a motion to accept those dates. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now we're going to do something we haven't done in a while, and that is an election for a new chairperson. As we all know, this will be my last meeting. I laughingly say I've been kicked out of better places than this, but I'm kidding, because this has been a great opportunity for me. It has helped me out quite a bit. Keith Carver has always called me the best chair that we've ever had. He won't be able to do that anymore after this, because I'm the only chair that he ever had. But the election of a chairperson is very, very important to this group, because it's going to take somebody that meets with Yancey, that meets with Jake, that discusses things with Yancey and Jake, because we do have meetings before to discuss potential items that need to be on the agenda. So carefully consider what you want. There will be a new member, Alex Richardson will be taking my place. Jennifer still has to go through the committee, the education committee, Senate and House, as will Alex, but that will, I think you said in February sometimes, you think? Okay. So the next meeting, you will have everybody theoretically here that's supposed to be here. So I guess the appropriate thing here is to open the floor for a motion or a nomination, rather. Dun, 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 dun.
I'd nominate Hal Bynum.
Okay. Hal Bynum has been nominated.
Do you need a second?
No, I think what I'd actually need is a motion to, if there are no more nominations, a motion to accept by acclamation.
So moved.
Is there any discussion? Hal, do you have any discussion?
I only have one question, Art.
Yes, is the answer.
Do I have to adhere to the current hairstyle for chair people?
Well, you know,
The water
Hal,
is
if you want
warm,
to get anywhere in life, you're going to have to do that.
Well, I'll take that under advisement.
Although I would like to go back to where your hairstyle is, to be honest with you. I'm hearing no more discussion. There is a motion on the floor to nominate or elect Hal Bynum by acclamation. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? You are I don't know whether he's the new chairman now and carry on, but I can finish. Thank you very much. Chancellor,
Yes.
do you have some comments?
I am going to try to make some really quick comments. I know you have been here for a minute, but want to just share some things that I think you will hopefully find important to you. I want to definitely start by saying welcome to some folks. Jennifer Hampton has joined this committee. She is somebody that I met initially coming into this community. It is a pleasure and an honor to have you here joining us. And so thank you for saying yes. I think before we even asked the question, she said yes. And so thank you for saying yes to serving and participating and joining us. I also want to acknowledge our student trustee who is here, Ashley Mallon, who's here with us as well. She is serving the University of Tennessee at Martin really well as she serves as a student trustee for us. And so welcome, Ashley. Always good to see you. Thank you for being here. I will just say to you that we are in the midst of a lot of different things. One that is probably peak and important is the 125th anniversary of the founding of our campus. We started in 1900, and if my math is correct, Art's going to correct me, this is is 2025, 26 now, and so we are celebrating 125. There is a history book that was done by 3 members of our community, Sam Richardson, Nathan Morgan, and Karen Elmore. And so you have this as a gift. It is an outstanding pictorial history of the institution. There are some things that you may or may not know about UTM. The Paul Meek Library has a room in it. It's a fascinating room that was done by Karen Elmore that if you've not had a chance to go over and peek at it, I think it's still up, Dean, is it? Okay, perfect. So if you've not had a chance to go over and peek, it's got some fascinating pictures and some fascinating history about UTM in it, so let me encourage you to do that. We're going to do some additional celebrations around 125. You don't turn 125 every year. We were founded in 1900, and the first courses were in 1901. So as we go into the fall of 26 to celebrate and commemorate the first courses for the institution, started as Hall Moody Institute, but to commemorate, we're going to have some celebrations throughout the fall, and you'll get invitations to do that and to join us there. I am most excited about the Center for Rural Innovation for our campus. It is, and Dr. Stravinsky, Dean Bibby, perhaps, are very innovative in their thinking and what they've done. It is, for me, UTM is an integral part of this community. We have an excellent think tank that is, that is contained within our community. And so we want this community to think about us when you have complex issues, complex problems. How do you get those resolved? We want them coming to us and talking about how to do it. And they are a prime example of what experiential learning looks like, because we're using our students to go out and to get that experience and to work with these municipalities that are in Tennessee and perhaps out of state very soon to advance the mission of what is happening. It is the consummate example of preparation plus opportunity equals success. These students are going to be outstanding as a result of participating in these internships. So very excited about that new center and what it means and what they will be able to do. I have also had a chance to get feedback from a number of different surveys. We survey everyone on our campus because we're interested in the experience of the faculty, the staff, and the students. And so I just recently received information on the faculty survey. It's called the Coach Survey. It's administered through the UT system. It will be done every 2 years for the campus, and our faculty are concerned about academic freedom and continuing to preserve academic freedom for the campus. They are very, very, very much mission-driven and understand the value of the work that they are doing. So I am fortunate that we have faculty here who believe in the mission, in particular of undergraduate teaching and what that means, and love working for this campus. And so we'll continue to do everything we can to protect and honor academic freedom, if you will, in the classroom. We had a staff survey that was just done, and it's done through the McLean group, and they sent us information back on the results from that survey. Again, our staff love working with, in particular, having a chance to work with students individually. That is a piece of, I think, what develops and makes this community special. They love the work that they are doing, the things that they are concerned about, and what is always number one is around compensation. How do we continue to improve compensation for our campus? We have been chasing it down as an executive leadership group and continuing to try to improve compensation. Huron compensation study, as Jake mentioned, has just been completed, and we are in now the initial vetting stage, validation stages of looking at that compensation study that was done by the outside group. I think probably within by the fall semester, we'll have a full plan and study and strategy for how we will deal with the information that came out of that compensation study for the university, and we'll share that information with you as we go into sort of the next iteration of our board meeting so that you have it very, very well. And then staff want more professional development. The best thing we can do is to prepare them to be outstanding staff members. How do you continue to become the best at your craft and the best at the profession that you are moving forward in? And so we'll continue to work on providing funding to get them that professional development that they want and desire to improve. And then for students, we got a student experience survey that was done, and it's done annually, where we are polling the response and experience of our students, and our students love this community. I think the reason they come to UTM is because of the small class sizes and the ability to really get to know faculty and staff. They don't feel like a number. They feel like they are a part of a community, and there is light in their eyes from when they start as a freshman, and when I get to shake their hand and hug them as they walk across the stage, you know that they've had an outstanding experience on this campus at the end of their tenure here. They continue to worry about, though, parking. They want more parking, and I've said we don't have a parking problem, we have a close parking problem, right? So they want more parking for the campus. They want more housing. We have been sort of a product of our own success. As I looked at the survey results, many of them talked about, we're going to 10,000 students. Where are all of these people going to go? And so it was great to hear them say and know that 10,000 is the student enrollment goal. And we are continuing to work to think about infrastructure as it relates to housing for the campus. And we may have Dr. Luter come and talk at the next advisory board meeting about housing and things that we've done and what we're seeing for the community. There's a lot of construction happening in Martin. If you just drive around, there's quite a bit that's happening here. But we've got some strategies internal that we're doing to address it for our students overall. And then they want more Wi-Fi. They want powerful Wi-Fi, right? Because back in my day, we would have one device, and now students average about 6 devices that they are using on campus. And they want to be able to use it and have it available for them. And they want to be able to connect immediately, and they want to be able to stream and do all of those things pretty immediately. And based on what our CIO, Amy Ballou, has told me, we have almost doubled the capacity for our Wi-Fi across the campus, putting ports in places where we know are really hard places to reach. And sometimes that is difficult because we have a lot of concrete infrastructure across the campus. So getting Wi-Fi to penetrate concrete tends to be a little bit, steel and concrete tends to be a little bit harder than wood structures. But we continue to work on Wi-Fi overall. We want to know about the experience. The health and welfare of our faculty and staff is directly linked to the health and welfare of our students. And so we will continue to listen and want to know what the results are and what people tell us, and we'll be responsive to each one of these groups about how we improve life on the campus. So I just wanted to kind of share that with you. Chairman mentioned facilities movement. If you drive around campus, you'll see a lot of movement right now on facilities. We are going to get back into, at least a large portion of the group is going to get back into Hall Moody in March. That is the anticipated date for some of us to be able to move back in. And it's been funny because as they talk about the building, I don't have great memory about it because I was in there for about a week and didn't know my left from my right. And so we're going to go back in that building, and everybody's going to be back in one space. Many of the administrative teams are going to be back in one space, and so we're happy to have use of that facility back. The dominoes are falling, though, with the College of Business and Global Affairs, because we're planning to demo that building this summer. So it will be flattened, and our plan is to begin to move our College of Business faculty in their classrooms in a couple of different places. Much of it will be in EPS on the Quad side, which is closed down right now for, it drives Peacher crazy when I say renovation, but where is she? Okay, renovation. So we're doing some mechanical systems things in there, right now, windows and, paint and those sorts of things to get it ready for the College of Business use and for classroom space in there as well. So, some of the faculty are gonna go there. We have some that will be in, Humanities building, some that's likely gonna be in Clement Hall as well. And so they're gonna be sprinkled just a little bit as we sort of, work out the plan for what is going to be the Golden Palace when they move back in, to their building. But we are in that, design phase of that building right now, and, as I said, we're going to go ahead and demolish it this summer with the thought of rebuilding, and it should be done, we hope, by fall of '29. And then as we think about housing and what happens with housing, we have Browning Hall that is at the end of life that we are going to take down as well this summer. So we're going to do some demolition this summer. And in its place is going to be a new, shiny, excellent, new residence hall that is going to have 406 beds for our students. Right now, Browning has 500 beds, and it's about 300 students in that residence hall right now. And so we get about a delta of about 100 students overall in terms of increased capacity. It's going to be a little bit cramped as we kind of walk through it. We're trying to figure out how to get everyone placed. I think Dr. Luter and the team in Student Affairs and Housing have put together a really good plan to accommodate our students who are going to be in housing. But growth is not a straight line. Progress is not a straight line. Sometimes it's wavy, and we're going to get there. No students are concerned about having enough housing spaces, but I think we're going to be just fine as it relates to housing for our campus. So there is a lot of movement that's going forward in terms of facilities. There is a lot that's going forward in terms of external facing things like the Center for Rural Innovation and how we get more into the community out there. There is a lot of feedback coming to the campus leadership team. And we have a responsibility to be responsive, and my goal is to, in fact, do that. And you saw the strategic plan, which is a phenomenal plan, and we are serious about accomplishing all 5 strategies, all 5 goals, all 24 strategies, and all of the 55 targets that are there. So I'll stop there, and I'm happy to take questions for anybody who has a question for me.
I will tell you that when I was in school, we had the same problem with the concrete and the steel. Our transistor radios just wouldn't do it. Now,
Didn't pick up that
to
way.
the people that are perplexed, look up transistor radio on AI, you'll figure it out.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Any questions for the chancellor?
I'll just end it by I had an opportunity before this meeting to thank Art Sparks for his leadership and encouragement and support, and I want to do that again publicly to just say to him, thank you for your leadership and for what you've done for this institution, what you'll continue to do for UTM. You're stepping away from this, but not away from us, and so we absolutely appreciate that effort and the work.
I appreciate the opportunity to have done that. I also appreciate this history book. I have checked with Bob Carroll and Betty Giles, both who were here the whole 125 years, I think, and it is accurate. As I leave, I will challenge everyone sitting at this table, and really the people behind me, to continue to promote UT Martin. We're the people that need to go out to our communities and talk about what a great institution this is. We are the ones that also need to talk to students and potential students to help Destiny back there, or Destin, to help this university grow. That's our responsibility. I challenge each one of you to question Petra and Jake and everybody else as they come up here, because, again, I want you to take that information that you understand and believe in back to your communities. It's also our responsibility, including the people behind me, to repay the blessings that we have all received. Repayment can come whether it's the form of UT Martin, the town of Stanton back there, or wherever you live. Repayment of blessings can be just in and something done, it can be monetary. You know, the repayment of your blessings is not, it's not an obligation. It's an honor. It's an honor to be able to go back and help this institution. And it's an opportunity to help the students that are here now and the ones that will be here in the future. It's an opportunity because we all had that same opportunity because people gave money and their time and effort for us back in a long time ago when we were here. So I challenge everyone at this table, continue to do what the advisory board is supposed to do. You help the university, you help Yancey, you even help Jake, and you help every other staff member that's here, every student and things like that. We are here to be an advisory board. I appreciate the opportunity that I've had, and I appreciate the people that I've had and been able to work with. And with that, I will call for an adjournment. Is there a motion?
So moved.
And a second. Hal, I congratulate you. My condolences are with you.
Thank you, Art. I'm no Art Sparks, but I will try to follow the lead.
I don't want you to be Art Sparks. I want you to be better than Art Sparks. We have a motion on the floor. This is the only motion in Robert's Rules of Order that there is no discussion. So I call for a vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? We are adjourned.